Today we'll discuss about ethical issues in research. So what different type of ethical issues they are there in the research. We'll see one by one all the issues related to research. So first is moral standards, values and ethics. So what moral standard is exactly? The moral standard is about what is right or what is wrong. So it is what you have to take decision under certain situation that what is right and what is wrong. So that is what called moral standards. Values. Values are basically beliefs that guide society's decision and action towards variety of situation. Values are basically beliefs that guide society's decision and action towards variety of situation. So ethics is basically a knowledge that deals with morals, principles, values and behavior. That's what basically moral principles, values and behavior. So when you consider these three things together, then definitely you are dealing with ethics. So what different ethical issues we should follow in research? So there are different types of ethics. So ethics is basically it deals with what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, considering the moral duty and obligations. So ethics commonly refers to the rules and principles that define right and wrong conduct. So basically rules or principles that defines rights and wrong right or wrong conduct is called ethics. And there are three different types of ethics: individual or personal ethics, professional or business ethics, and research ethics. So today we'll deal with research ethics. So research ethics is basically it provides a guideline for the responsible conduct of research. So research ethics provides guidelines for the responsible conduct of research. It educates and monitors scientists to conduct and report research without harming the participants of the study or the members of the society knowingly or unknowingly. So it decides basically how scientists will handle the situation in research, how they'll handle the participants or the animals or the subject in a right way, in an ethical way, by knowing the rules of ethics. So many professional bodies have adopted scientific code or rules and policies relating to research ethics. So these are National Science Foundation or Food and Drug Administration (FDA), Environmental Protecting Agencies, International Committee on Publication Ethics (COPE), or Indian Council for Medical Research (ICMR), University Grant Commission (UGC). All these organizations they have published their ethical guidelines for the research, and one should follow these guidelines in their particular research. Suppose you are working in can say medical research or can say research with respect to medicine, drug or pharmacy, you should follow the guideline of International Committee on Publication Ethics and ICMR. So code of ethics and research policy. Every organization has a formal document stating primary values and ethical rules of that organization or body. So this is what Code of Conduct of Mola Education Society. Mola Education Society has published its Code of Conduct and Research Policies, and it is what basically a primary document useful for the researchers. So it is expected that every researcher should follow it or must follow it so as to conduct the research in smooth way. The code is useful in maintaining ethical behavior among the scientists and research scholars. So this is the code developed by Molecular Society, and those who are working under this particular education society, they are uh, supposed to follow these rules and regulation along with the rules and regulation published by UGC. So Code of Ethics and Research Policy is a formal document stating primary values and ethical rules of organization. It is expected that researcher must follow it. The code is useful in maintaining ethical behavior among the scientists, scholars, and members. Research misconduct. Research misconduct means data fabrication, data falsification, or falsification in methodology, plagiarism in planning, performing, and reporting research results. This is what generally three different types of misconducts generally that happens during the research work. So we'll see first plagiarism under research misconduct. So plagiarism is a practice of copying someone's else work and presenting it as your own work intentionally or unintentionally. So what plagiarism basically is a practice of copying or using someone's data or others' data, others' work and presenting it as your work in or your own research. So that's what called plagiarism. So any can say material when you copy from somebody else and use it for your research is called plagiarism. It may be can say data, it can be can say figures, it can say photographs or can say videos or can say lyrics. Whenever you copy it from somebody else and use as it is in your research, then it's plagiarism. So it can be quoting words or paraphrasing an idea without citing the authors and sources. You need to cite the references, you need to cite the sources and authors when you're using someone's data. Or use of images, audios, videos, spreadsheet, etc. without proper citation. So you need to cite all this in your research. Citing a source with fake bibliographic can say information is also plagiarism. So this is what plagiarism. Plagiarism is what basically is what taking someone else's material and using it as your own material, or can say presenting it as your own material in your research is called plagiarism. So this is what plagiarism, and one should avoid this plagiarism. What is falsification? Falsification is basically a manipulation in research. It can be manipulation in material or it can be manipulation in research process. When anybody manipulate a research material, manipulate a research process or research methodology, that's falsification. If somebody can say manipulates the equipment or instruments or machine used in research, this is also called a falsification. So falsification of data is also one of the type of can say misconduct. It is the selective alteration of data collected during research investigation. Selective alteration, if suppose somebody alters data selectively during the research, then it's called falsification. And there are certain examples: selective omission or deletion or separation of conflicting data without scientific or statistical justification, or modification of deviations and variations in the data series. Sometimes there is huge variation or can say more deviation, and during statistical analysis researchers used to can adjust variation or can say deviation. So this is generally called a falsification or research misconduct. The third research misconduct is data fabrication. So fabrication is inventing or making up data required to complete the research work. Making up data. So you are not collecting the data from the sources or from these cancer responses, but without collecting data, when you manipulate data or can say make up data or can say prepare data without experimentation, this is called data fabrication. And completing a questionnaire without interviewing the participant, without interview, when you can say complete the data or complete the questionnaire, that comes under falsification. Completing a questionnaire without interviewing participant, that comes under data fabrication. Manipulating data without experimentation or is coming under fabrication. So manipulating data without experimentation is coming under fabrication. Adjusting data without observation is also coming under data fabrication. So this is the third type of misconduct. There are different principles of research ethics. The first one is openness. So every researcher should be open for criticism. So anybody suppose criticize with you, you should be open for the criticism. You should be open for new ideas and suggestions. Suppose your colleagues, they want to give some suggestion or want to give some idea for your research. So be open and can say think on that ideas and suggestion. So this openness is one of the basic principles of research ethics. Then respect to intellectual property right. So you too, or you should respect intellectual property right. Uh, you should honor patent, copyrights, and other forms of intellectual property. It may be any form of intellectual property. If it is can say protected under intellectual property rights, then definitely you should respect it. It may be a patent, it may be copyright, or it may be any other form of intellectual property. So give credit where credit is due. You should give credit where credit is due and never plagiarize. You should avoid the plagiarism. That is what important aspect in can say respect to intellectual property right. This is what second I can say most important principles of research ethics. Informed consent. The subject should be informed about purpose of research. So when you are working on your research and when you want to take interview or can say collect data from respondent, so you should discuss with them what is your research methodology, what are the can say effects and effects of this particular research. You should discuss with them and take their consent. That is called informed consent. The researcher should explain the procedure. So you should can say explain the procedure to the can say respondent. So what research procedure should be followed in the research, and you should can say discuss them with all these points, all the participants. Even you can include what are the risks and what are the benefits of this particular can say research. You should discuss all the things with the participant. While dealing with school children, those who are minor, it is necessary you should take consent from their parent. So this is what again informed consent. When you are dealing with very minors or can say children, then definitely they are very can say very small and they are not wise enough to can say give correct information. So when you want to deal with children or minors, then definitely you should take can say care that you should get consent from their parents or guardians. While dealing with can say mentally challenged students or can say participants, then definitely you should take permission from their parents. That's what informed consent, or you should take permission from their guardians. So this is what informed consent. One should inform each and everything about your research to the participants, whether they are what patients, whether they are children or can say mentally challenged or can say physically challenged person. So you should take consent. That is called informed consent. The next principle is what? Confidentiality. Confidentiality is what? Basically, you should keep your data confidential, or whatever data that you obtain from the respondent or from the individuals, you should keep the data with you in confidential way. So researcher must assign a code number and identify the subject or the person or the individual by assigned code or number. You should not can say identify person with name or other can say parameter. You should always give a code number to the respondent or to the subject, and you should identify and write the information with that code. The researcher must not disclose any of the information obtained from the respondent. Any response, whatever information that you obtain from the respondent, that should be, can say, kept confidential. And if you want to publish it, you can take their permission, you can show the results to them, and with the written permission, you can even use that permission, or can say for publication or data for publication. Protect confidential communication such as papers, grants submitted for publication, or personal records of the patients or patient record, whatever record they are there, you are taken from the individuals or from the subjects, from the human subject, that should be kept confidential. Then next principle is objectivity. So objectivity is basically the researcher or experimenter should always try to avoid biased attitude. You should not be biased in taking data. You should not be biased when you are taking interview or taking information from the respondent. So avoid biasness. Avoid bias in experimental design. When you are designing any experiment or can say any procedure, or you are analyzing the data, or you are interpreting the data, or you can say reviewing the papers or for peer review or for personal decision, whatever expert testimony or other aspect, researchers should avoid biasness. So there is no can say any bias in dealing with all these aspects. Okay, don't get emotionally involved in the participants. The next principle is responsible publication. When you want to publish your paper should be published in can say reputed journals, indexed journals, and that journal should be recognized by national organization. So we have can say UGC care journals. So when should publish in care journals, don't publish in predatory or can say potential predatory journals. Then other thing is what? When you want to publish, always publish for advancing the knowledge and technology. Your publication should advance knowledge and technology. Avoid any wasteful or can say duplicate publication or can say duplicative publication, repeated publication. So that's what essential. So this is one of the principles of can say research ethics. The seventh one is honesty. Record your observations or what your data, what your results in your notebook honestly. That is what most important. As per the methods and as per the procedure, whatever research methods you are following, research procedures you are following, and can say tools you are using. As per rules, you have to collect the data, follow systematic can say methods and can say procedures, and collect the data ethically, honestly. Do not fabricate, do not falsify, or do not misinterpret the data, or can say mispresent the data. That's what essential thing in this. The next principle is integrity. Keep your promises and agreements. So keep your promises and agreements. Act with sincerity. Try hard for consistency of your thought and action. So what your promises that you are given to the individuals or can say to the participants, you have to keep your promises and agreements. Even can say what your agreements that you made with your colleagues while publishing or while researching, you should can say keep your agreements, work sincerely for consistency, and you should be can say develop trust in them. That's what integrity. Carefulness, avoid negligence and critically can say uh, examine your own work and the work of your peers. If you want to observe the work of your peers, so examine it carefully and critically. Avoid any negligence. So keep good records of your research activities. That's also important. What your research activities are there, you have to keep the record, proper record, and maintain it in a proper way. So carefulness, avoid negligence, and critically examine your own work and the work of your peers. Keep good records of your research activities. So this is what carefulness. Next is responsible mentoring. So if you are a supervisor or you are can say observing work of your colleagues and peers, so always educate, mentor and advise students. Allow them to make their own decisions. So you should can say educate them, monitor them and advise the student, advise them in a proper way, ideal way, and that is what responsible monitoring, responsible guiding. Allow them to take their own decisions. So if you take can say this particular action, the student will follow the discipline, they'll take own decision in the right way, and definitely they'll develop that habit of taking own decisions in an ideal way. Respect to the colleagues, respect your colleagues and treat them fairly. That's another can say principle. And social responsibility, advocate to publish in index journals, prevent or mitigate social harms through research and publication education. So you have to advocate to publish in index journal, reputed journals, and prevent or mitigate social harms through your research or through your public education. Okay, that's what some of the can say principles. Uh, then non-discrimination. One should avoid discrimination against colleagues, students on the basis of their race, customs, or other factors that are not related to their scientific competence and integrity. Legality. know the laws, rules published by can say apex bodies, government, and whatever policies which are published, you have to follow and obey the rules and regulations and laws and policies of the institution and of government so as to avoid the plagiarism, falsification in the research, and can say research misconduct. Then final one is animal care. Show proper respect and care to the animals when you are using them in research. Do not conduct poorly designed animal experiment. So this is what most important aspect when you are dealing with animals in experiment, or you are working on can say some drugs or medicinal can say plant, and you want to test the active principles in animals or human subject. So definitely you have to can say handle the subjects with care, handle the experiment animals with the care. Ethical people attracts other ethical people, and unethical people attracts other unethical people. So with this, I want to say that conduct your research in ethical way, collect data, don't can say plagiarize, don't fabricate and falsify in your research. Definitely you'll get ideal work, ideal data, and you can publish it in a indexed and reputed journal. Thank you very much.